What's up, everybody? Thanks for checking in with Callie. Please subscribe if you haven't. But hey man, the game was unbelievable. I have to admit the Clippers looked stifled. They looked, outmatched for a while. They looked like they had no energy against the Nets. The Clippers looked really dead, but the one bright spot that was really there was Russell Westbrook. He was pretty much, hanging in there and giving them that energy pretty much the whole night. And then James Harden, he actually came on as well. He ended up having 24 points, 10 assists. I mean, that was huge. Paul George struggled. Kawhi struggled. I mean, it just looked like, one of those games where it's been the last few years where the Clippers always seem to struggle those 3:30 games. I don't know what it is. Even the last, few years, since Kawhi and PG has been together, the Clippers always seem to struggle with those early games. I don't know if they get enough sleep or enough rest or, I don't know, they miss a practice or they skip a practice. It seems like that every single year. I say the last few years has been that way. They always seem to struggle at those games for some reason. But regardless of that, I heard that Kawhi was down. He was under the weather, and he didn't really practice. He didn't practice, before this game. I think the day before, because he was down. He was, under the weather, and who knows what kind of sickness he had. Maybe just, like a common cold or something like that. And he really didn't have his rhythm like that. And the fact that Paul George didn't have his, it really made it much more difficult because Cam Thomas and it seemed like everybody on the Brooklyn Nets were just, feeding off of the fact that the Clippers weren't, in their rhythm, and it looked like they was in rhythm the whole time. They started out on a 16-0 run. And it was crazy. But, the Clippers hung in there as much as they could. They stayed close as much as they could, even though the score kept getting it just expanding. I would look at the game, turn away and be like, oh, goodness. Now the Clippers just going to fall to this game. I think it was 87-76 or something like that at that time when I flipped back, to the game. And, then I looked at it and I kept getting frustrated. The shots are not falling. I think Kawhi was 2 for 11 or something like that. And Paul George is 2 for 12 or something like that. And, usually when those two don't show up, you kind of have a feeling this is a game, the Clippers probably can, wrap up and move on to the next, because they're probably going to lose this game. And that's what it looked like. But Russ kept at it. Terrence Mann started out with 12 points, in the beginning of the game. He kind of kept things, gave his energy, kept things going. And like I said, James Harden eventually came on. They had good contributions, kind of a little bit with everybody somewhat. It's just the main two guys weren't available, seemed like, for most of that game. They just won't, they didn't have no rhythm. And, a few nights ago, Paul George caught fire and, the Clippers end up winning that game against OKC, I believe, which that was a big game for them to win, I believe. And here we go again, fourth quarter. Clippers are down 18, and the claw just showed that the reason why he's a top 3 player in the league. And to me, he actually showed why he's the best player in the league. And he also showed why you can win a championship with Kawhi Leonard, because what he did in that fourth quarter, even though Kawhi wasn't really playing that well, he did have some good defensive stretches throughout the game where he made some decent defensive plays. And once he, got going, and once the fourth quarter came, you saw the clutchness in his game. He went 4 for 4 from the field, 2 for 2 from 3. And, he literally just took over. I mean, the last 5 minutes of that game, he outscored the Brooklyn Nets 14-10. I mean, he ended up having 14 points in the fourth quarter. You want to talk about coming up clutch. I mean, he literally shut that game down, closed it out. I mean, that 3-pointer that he took at the top of the key. I mean, I can remember I looked at Terrence Mann. Terrence Mann was jumping up already when Kawhi let it go, because he knew Kawhi was already in that rhythm, locked in, and that was it. And when Russ found him in the corner, for that 3, I mean, I just knew for myself. I said, well, the Brooklyn Nets, I mean, it's over with for you now. I mean, Kawhi's about to put the nail in the coffin. And this is why I said, when you have a player like Kawhi Leonard, you can win championships. And this is the reason why nobody really needs to undermine his greatness as much as the media tries to do that, because he doesn't, play with the Lakers with LeBron James, or he's not a LeBron James protege or something like that. They try to undermine his greatness, and they try to, put out there to the world like he is a great player, but it's always a but behind it with, Kawhi Leonard. There is no buts. He's a great player. That's fact. And you have to really give him credit for that. And like I said, his defense and, his his offense has caught up with his defense, you know what I'm saying, throughout his career. And at this point in his career, and that's the amazing thing about Kawhi, because he came in the league not even as an offensive guy. He came in the league as a defensive guy. But people forget his defense was so good. He was helping San Antonio win championships and things like that because of his defense, you know what I'm saying, and other teams as well. So we got to give him his flowers for what he does best. That was a clutch moment because, like I said, the Nets just beat the Lakers a few nights ago and embarrassed them because the Nets got a lot of good young players. They got a lot of good young talent on that team. I could actually see them being a formidable team, you know what I'm saying, going forward in the future if they keep that core together and they really, really build on what they have and maybe, possibly, I don't know, maybe get another coach or something like that, maybe more of a championship caliber type coach, with that with that nucleus they have there. I think they'd be a really good team and a really tough out for anybody who play them in a 7-game series, possibly in the future. But they definitely gave the Clippers all they can handle. It was one of those games where it's like, oh man, this is about to be a bad loss on the Clippers. But the Nets have been playing with a lot of high energy and spirit lately, and good for them because they really needed it. And the Clippers really needed the energy to bounce back to react to what the Nets were doing. And like I said, when Kawhi got going, I just kind of knew it was over with because I know how Kawhi is. I know when he gets into that point in that mode, he will lock in and he'll take over a game and he can control a whole game by himself. That fourth quarter was all about Kawhi Leonard. It really was because the Clippers being down 22 in the game at one point and making that comeback in the fourth quarter really solidified how good this team is under duress, even when they're not on point, even when they're not at their best in regards to offensively, you know what I'm saying? But that's the reason why they got two other star players in James Harden and Russell Westbrook who can come out there and give you energy and go out there and attack other teams in ways where it'll open up the offense more for Kawhi and or PG. And that's what it did. And like I said, Kawhi took over in that fourth. And I just knew, like I said, when he hit that three at the top of the key there, I just knew that, the Nets, their opportunity to win was over with because, like I said, Kawhi is just that dominant of type of a player. And I'm glad he caught his rhythm because, I think, somebody would have had something to say if they lost that game or something like that. But regardless, what I'm saying, coming up in the clutch is what Kawhi does. And even shout out to PG, you know what I'm saying? Some nights you just have it, some nights you don't. It's just the way it is. It's a long season, 82 games. It's not like it's 18 games or 35 games a season. It's a long season. So, you got to, be on your P's and Q's as much as you can, but there's going to be some off nights, and that's just the way it goes. But it was a collective effort all the way around, and it was a big win for the team, and I think that's another motivational tool that they'll use going forward in their journey to win a championship.